So very good morning. Hope I'm visible, audible. So in the last class, we have discussed about we were discussing about the diversity in living organisms, right? In that, we have discussed about up to the reptilia. Now, from this class, we will discuss about the further portion of this chapter, that is class Aves. So in class Aves, we have some examples. So as we are discussing, like we have kingdom, we have phylum, then we have class, order, family, genus, and species. So we are discussing the phylum Animalia, kingdom Animalia, in which we are discussing about the vertebrata. Okay, in vertebrata, we are discussing the class Aves. So there are some common examples of the aves, that is pigeon, sparrow. So whatever the birds we see, whatever the birds which present around our surroundings, and whatever the birds, that's all comes in the classes aves. There are some examples like pigeon, sparrow. We have pigeon, sparrow, crow, duck, owl, penguin, ostrich, emu, and a lot of birds is there. So they all are come under the class of aves. So generally, birds are that how they used to breathe. So the birds are generally breathe from the lungs. So as we are discussing about the amphibians, so amphibians they breathe through the gills, and as well as they have other systems like lungs. They also have lungs and they also have gills. When they are in terrestrial environment, they respire through the lungs, and when they go inside the aquatic environment, they respire through the gills. But in birds, so they respire through the lungs and they have an exoskeleton of feathers. They have exoskeleton of feathers. Why they need exoskeletons? Because exoskeleton needs to support to the system. So in the feathers, if the feathers won't be that much of uh, if it would be a soft, so they can't fly, they can't support to the whole birds, like, so they are also made up of exoskeleton of feathers. So the generally the feathers of the bird, we have seen a lot of feathers, like people used to love that peacock feathers, right? So that feathers is also made up of exoskeleton. So if you have seen the feathers of peacock, then you can see that we take one if you take one feathers, in that there is one line is there, ratches like that. After then a separation of a colors, right? So these are the middle portion is that exoskeleton. So in that exoskeleton, the feathers are also embedded like a cottons or very soft material. They are embedded in that exoskeleton. That also supports the whole system of the birds. So their forelimbs are modified into wings. So they have, like we have forelimbs, like we have fingers, like that in the birds they have that forelimbs in converted into the wings, and the wings is used for the flying purpose. So they have scaly legs. They have also scaly legs, and they have four chambered heart. Like in human beings, we also have four chambered heart. In reptiles generally which crawl on the ground and which live in the soil, they just dug out the soil and they live burrow in the soil. So they have three chambered heart. But in reptiles, but in aves and in mammalia, we generally found uh, four-chambered heart. So their body is streamlined and a skeleton is light to facilitate flying. So they have a streamline. Streamline means, see. So whenever we see the birds, we found some streamlines. Streamlines in the body, on the body surface, we have some streamlines. Like we can see, there's a lot of streamlines. See, if this is a bird, so we found a lot of streamlined, like in their body purposes, surfaces, there is a lot of lines. They have streamlines on the here, there, and we found a lot of streamlines on their body surface. So these are the streamlines, and the skeleton is light to facilitate movement. So if the skeleton will be hard, so it will be difficult to fly, because if the skeleton will be hard, they have heavy weight, and the heavy weight they can't fly because their feather is not that much of capacity to that they can use for the flying purpose. So for that reason, that the skeleton of the whole skeleton system of the bird, it should be lightweight, not that much skeleton. So they are warm blooded. So we are discussing about there are some in earlier classes we have seen that in amphibia, uh, and in some pieces like in fishes, we found that cold blooded animals. So what were the cold blooded animals? So these are the animals which were whose blood temperature is fluctuates due to the environment conditions. Okay, but if you talk about the warm blooded conditions, so it doesn't matter if you are living in which conditions, in which environment you are going. So they are the warm blooded animals, irrespective of their temperature. They do not change their they do not fluctuate irrespective of temperature. They do not change according to the environment. So these are the warm blooded. Like for the cold blooded animals, we use poikilothermic animals. Sometimes we say what is the poikilothermic animals, and sometimes we say what is the homeothermal animals. So this is homeothermic animals, that is also known as warm blooded animals, and they maintain an almost constant relative high body temperature irrespective of the temperature of the environment, and they lay eggs with calcareous cells. So we have seen a lot of eggs, like if you talk about the hen's eggs, we generally purchase and we consume in the we purchase from the grocery stores, and we have ostrich eggs. So whatever the generally we saw that birds, they have their calcareous cells. Calcareous cells, why they have calcareous cells? So that calcareous cells is made up of calcium carbonate, right? So calcium carbonate, they provide protection to that the young ones that is already present in that age. So after sometimes they incubate. After incubations, they will hatch from the eggs, and after that offspring of that hens, they started surviving in the surrounding areas. So these are the so that's why they produce calcareous cells to provide the protections. So there are some examples like koel. So it is a black colored male that sing. We used to sing during the monsoon period. There is bird koel. So they used to sing. Okay, so the brownish white patches females produce only a duck brown broken call. So that the brownish white patch females which has a dully broken, uh, they used to call some cuckoo cuckoo, they used to sing that song. So it lays eggs in the crow nest. So the koel, they have the like koel never used to build their nest. So if because the koel and the crows, they look like a similar, like they are not that much similar, but in if you talk about the colors, so koel used to uh, they do not build their nest. So what she does, so they lay their eggs in the nest of the crows, and whatever the eggs of the crows is present in that crow nest, they used to throw from that nest, and they lay their eggs. And the crow is like stubborn. They do not understand that they do not understand these are not my eggs. These eggs are not belonging to us. And the crows used to protect their eggs. And later, when they get to know, after hatching, they get to know that there is something betrayal has happened with us. So that was the eggs of cuckoo. So that is the common examples. So this strategy where a bird relies on other birds to raise its young ones is known as brood parasitism. So this strategy is known as brood parasitism, where that bird, that crow protect the other eggs of the like quail, and they protect them, and later it grows and hatch. So so this parasitism is known as brood parasitism. So after that we have ostrich. Ostrich is the largest and heaviest living bird. Okay, so it's very heaviest. If you visit any zoo, so you will get to know that how ostrich is very large. This is very large, and we see as the largest and the heaviest living bird. So although they are flightless, it has powerful legs for running, making it the fastest bird on land. So in generally Australia, we used to see that in also zoological park, but in Australia it is common. So ostrich is a very large, and they have powerful legs that is used for running purpose. Like if predator comes to catch them, so they can run like a deer. So they have powerful legs, and that powerful legs is it because they don't have fears. They can't fly because they are very heavy. So they can't fly. For that reason, they have powerful legs. They have powerful legs, and they can run from one location to other location, and they are very fast. So ostrich not only lays the largest of all bird eggs, its eyes are the largest of any land animal. So the eyes occupy so much space in the skull that the brain of an ostrich is much smaller than either one of its eyeballs. So it is a very amazing bird. Like ostrich is not only the largest of all birds. They are not only producing the largest eggs in the whole world, but they are also they have the largest eyes whatever the land animal present in the earth. So the eyes occupy so much space in their scale. Like they have whiskers. I will show one pictures of ostrich. See, so we have some pictures of ostrich. So these are see the feathers of the ostrich is not that much of heavy, right? So they can't use for the flying purpose. See, these are very large, like they are tall at 7 to 8 feet, and you can see that their eyes. So they are also big, and you can see that powerful legs. So they use for the running purpose, and they are very they have very heavy weight, right? So so in their head, that eyes is also sticked in that head. So that's why often it is smaller than either one of its eyeballs. So their eyeballs is sometimes eyeballs is also small in that ostrich. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about the class memory. So these are the basic things like in the classes avis in the birds. So we have pigeon peas. So the general things we have to remember, like they respire through lungs, they have as they have exoskeleton of feathers, after that they have scaly legs, and they have four chambered heart, and they are warm blooded animals, and they lay eggs with calcareous shells. So these are the uh, common characters of the class avis, that is belongs to the birds. Okay, so next we have class mammalia. So in the class mammalia, whatever the mammals we see, like human beings, we then cat, dog, cow, sheep, rat, bat is also a mammal, seal, then monkey, apes, man, etc. So we these are the classes of mammals, right? So mammals are most highly developed animals. Why we used to say that we are the most highly developed animals? And for life on land, although some of them, such as whales and porpoises, live in water and bats fly in the air. Why I used to say that we are the most highly developed animals? Because we are the only one who has a brain, who has a high developed brain, and we can do our work ourselves. Like so our brain is also developed. Okay, so most of the things we used to do, like if we can't say that the birds can do something, like they can use the computers and they can do something like that. We can't say like that because they are not that much highly developed. Okay, but the mammals are the most highly developed. They produce their young ones. They do not produce eggs. So these are the most highly developed animals on the land surface. And the mammals used to dominate on the earth. Okay, so mammals used to dominate on the earth because their the brain capacity too much. They can think, they can perceive the environment, they can think, and they can uh, uh, and they have and during evolutionary process their brain is also developed, so they can think as compared to other animals. They can think much better than other animals. Okay, so some of them, such as whales and porpoise, live in water. Bats fly in the air. So whales is generally termed as a fish, but they are also as mammals. Why they are animals? Because they do not produce, they also produce the young ones. So we used to say that whales is the largest mammal on the earth. So and porpoises live in water. So whales and porpoises live in the water, and bats fly in the air. Bats is also animal. That bats is also animal, and they fly in the air. So they give birth to the living ones, that is viviparous. So we have oviparous and viviparous. So for the we can say for the pieces, for the aves, for the birds, we can say that they are the oviparous because they produce eggs. So we can say they are the oviparous. And the animals which directly give birth to the living young ones, we can say viviparous. So with two exceptions, the Australian spiny anteater, but they have also exceptions, like in the viviparous they produce young ones. In fact of that, there are two exceptions, that Australian spiny anteater and duck-billed platypus, which lay eggs. So these are the mammals, but the Australian spiny anteaters and okay, so these are the pictures of the spiny ant eater of Australia. Okay, so these are the mammals, but they produce egg. So these are the examples. Do not confuse this with the hedgehog, which gives birth to young ones. So it's look like a hedgehog, but which produce young ones. But these are the mammals, but they produce eggs. So these are the exceptions. Sometimes we have exceptions. So after that, we have other examples, that is duck-billed platypus. So duck-billed platypus also produce eggs, but they are the belong from the mammals. Mammals nourish their young ones by means of mammary gland. They have hair on their skin. They are warm-blooded. They have a muscular diaphragm separating the thorax and abdomen internally. They have four-chambered heart and breathe by means of lungs. As a rule, they have a pair of external ears, that is ear pinna. So in our body, we also have hair pinna, right? We also have hair pinna. And do you think this any use of this hair pinna? So we can say that is a vestibular organ which doesn't have any work. So we can say they have external ears, and sometimes the ear pinna used to capture the and they modify the sounds. So these are so sometimes we used to say that the ear pinna has a vestibular organ. It doesn't have any work. So after then we have external testis contain a scrotum. So in the mammals regions, so they have the separate different uh, sexes like male and female. After they have in the male they have external testes which contain a scrotum, that is testicles. So these are the common features and the characters of the class Mammalia. So now we will come about the summary of classification of vertebrates. So what we have discussed till now, so these are the very good chart. We can summarize here, like we have discussed about the class species, amphibia, reptiles, aves, mammalian. So in class species, we have discussed the cartilaginous species and the bony fishes. And in the amphibia, we have discussed about the frogs and salamander. And in reptiles, so in we can remember like that the pisces amphibia reptiles they come from the cold-blooded animals. Aves mammalia they come from the warm-blooded animals. Okay, so then the pisces live in. So these are the common examples. So you can read it, and we have all discussed these things right in the last class. Do you have any? Do you have guys any questions? Anyone? Okay. So we'll read the next chapter, that is economic importance of bacteria and fungi. Is it completed or economic importance of bacteria and fungi? Okay. So now we'll discuss, we'll deal with the next chapter, that is economic importance of bacteria and fungi. Okay. This is the most important chapter because they have a lot of economic importance, like we know yeast that produce alcohol. So that fermentation processes, whatever the materials, the food processing materials, whatever we consume, we generally deal with the fungi and bacteria. That mushroom we used to consume, then the bacteria like idli, dosa we used to consume, that is also fermented products. Like we have a lot of like pav, then we have yeast alcohol, that is vodka, whiskey. So these are the examples which are the byproduct of the bacteria, right? So after the fermentation we used to get this type of byproduct. So they have a lot of economic importance in of bacteria and fungi. In this chapter now we are going to deal about the. Okay. So in this chapter now we are going to deal about the what is the economic importance of bacteria fungi. As we already know, there is a lot of disease, a lot of disease also produced by bacteria and the fungi, which also affect our life. So now we'll discuss the basic things, like this is the what are the economic importance of bacteria and fungi, and how these organism used to in how we use these organisms as in our daily life, and what are their so, what is the useful role of bacteria? Then medicine, antibiotics, serums, and vaccines. They are also produced by bacteria and fungi. Then agriculture, like in nitrogen cycle, like in nitrosomonas, rhizobium. So these are the micro bacteria which used to fix the nitrogen, and they also nitrifying and denitrifying bacteria. Then industry, like in curing of tea, we also use for the tea. For the curing of tea we also use some of the bacteria. Then tanning of leather, for the dyeing of the leather we also use some bacteria. Then we have also the harmful role of bacteria, like spoilage of food. So if we keep our food outside for 8 to 9 hours, so there will be attack of bacteria, and because of that we that food is spoiled. So then what are the different diseases in plants, animals? What are the bio weapons? Bio weapons is something which is the weapons, like if one country want to destroy another country, so they can destroy other country in many ways. Like they can use chemical warfare, they can go for machine warfare, they can go for artificial intelligence warfare. But there is one other weapon, that is bio weapon. One country, like by secretly or basically they can introduce some bacteria and fungus that is very uh, which is very difficult to manage, so they can introduce that bacteria in other country which is disease, which spread diseases, and they can destroy their country as well. So these are called bioweapons. Then we have economic importance of fungi. So in these things, so in this chapter we are going to discuss about the breweries. What are the bakeries? Like we used to eat cake during celebrations. We used to take the cakes, and in the bakeries, like we have a lot of things in the bakeries. So these all the things are produced by anyhow these all products which come by the process of some organisms. They have some rules of the organisms. So like cheese processing, mushroom cultivations, these all are the uh, things we are going to discuss about in these chapters. So, what are the economic importance of bacteria, right? So, we have five kingdom of classification, right? So, R.H. Whittaker. So, there was one scientist, that is R.H. Whittaker, in 1959. He has classified all the living worlds in a five kingdom. Okay, so then they have Protista, fungi, plantae, animalia. Okay, then bacteria, fungi, plantae, animalia, and the protista. Okay. So bacteria are the primitive organisms made up of a single cell. So what are the bacteria? So these are the basic things. Like bacteria are primitive organisms made up of a single cell. Their genetic material is dispersed in the central region of the cytoplasm without a nuclear membrane. So we have two types of cells, that is prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cells, right? We have two types of cells, prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cell. We have two types of cells, prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic means which has true nucleus present in their cell, and prokaryotic which has primitive type of nucleus present. So the bacteria is primitive type of organisms. So pro means primitive, eu means new, like true type of nucleus, that is eukaryotic, and prokaryotic is primitive type of organisms uh, uh, which is which has created during the after the big bang, or we can say they are living from a very long time. So the first organism which was produced on the earth, that was bacteria only. So these are the primitive type of organisms, and they are generally single cells. So their genetic material is dispersed in the central region of cytoplasm without a nuclear membrane. But what about the eukaryotics? So in eukaryotics we have nucleus, in the nucleus we have nucleolus, in the nucleus we have a chromosome, and in that chromosome we found DNA, that genetic material. But in prokaryotic there is no any nucleus present in their cell. So their cell is directly like dispersed in the cytoplasm. Okay, so they don't have nucleus, but they are present, they are just dispersed in the cytoplasm of the nucleus, cytoplasm of the that bacterial cell. They are simply dispersed in the cytoplasm of the bacterial cell. But in eukaryotic there is a definite and rigid structure in the eukaryotic cells. They have nucleus, they have nucleus. In that nucleus there is chromosome present is there, and in that chromosome there is a line present, that is called DNA or gene. So these are the genetic material present in the eukaryotic. But in prokaryotic there is no such type of nucleus present in that cell, and they are simply, that genetic material simply dispersed in the uh, cytoplasm of the prokaryotic cells. So these are the called bacteria, and they don't have any nuclear membrane. Obviously, if they don't have nucleus, then where we are going to find nuclear membrane? So they are prokaryotes, and that lack a true nucleus. Okay. So according to the five kingdoms, bacteria are not plants. The reason being bacteria are prokaryotic, single cell organisms instead of being eukaryotic and multicellular things. So a bacteria, the most primitive unicellular organisms. Each bacterial cell contains a single chromosome, that is nuclear membrane, which is not enclosed into a nuclear membrane. So in each bacteria, as they are dispersed, so they have single chromosome like nuclear membrane, and they are not enclosed with nuclear membrane, as they don't have nucleus present in their cell. So bacteria so numerous and everywhere. We can find bacteria everywhere. Like if you are sitting in a room, we close everything. Even we have bacteria in the uh, response is we have bacteria everywhere. Okay, so there are several thousands known species of bacteria which occur in air, water, soil, food, or inside the body of living ones. And in short, we can say that practically everywhere in our own body there are hundreds and thousands of bacteria in the mouth, on skin, inside intestines, in the genital tracts, etc. So some of the bacteria occurring in our intestine are beneficial and some are not beneficial. So to synthesize certain vitamins such as vitamin B, we need some bacteria. Like so, certain bacteria are harmful and cause many diseases, but there are others which are highly useful as well. According to one estimates, there are more bacteria normally living on your skin than the total number of humans living on Earth. Okay, so, as a common example, according to estimate, the number of bacteria present on our skin, that is uh, present on our skin, that is the total number of beings living on the earth. Okay, so these bacteria are even useful as they prevent the growth of harmful ones. Then what are the size of the bacteria? So bacteria are the smallest living organisms on earth with an average size of 2 micrometers long and 0.5 micrometer thick. So we can say 1 micro is equal to 1000 of millimeter. Okay. 1 micrometer, 1 micrometer. So, 1 micrometer is 1000 of a millimeter. So 1 millimeter. So we can say the 1000 parts of 1 millimeter is 1 micrometer. So we have size, after then we have shape. So bacteria size is vary from with the average as 2 micrometer to 0.5 micrometer thick. So what is the shapes? So they have different shapes, like the bacterial usually have four types: cocci, that is a spherical shape, then bacillus, rod shape, then spirilla, that is twisted bacteria, then vibrio, which is look like a comma shape. So we can see that. So we have cocci. Cocci means, so cocci is for single, and for the plural we used to say coccus. So these are the coccus. So there are generally four shapes of bacteria, that is cocci, bacilli, spirilla, and the vibrio. The cocci is that is coccus. After that we have bacillus. Bacillus is rod shaped like that. These are the bacillus and it's rod shaped. So these are the bacillus, which is rod shaped. Then we have spirula. Then we have commercial. Many bacteria live singly, but some occur in pairs, like diplococci, or in long chains, streptococci, or in clusters. That is staphylococci. So the bacteria which live in two forms, like you can see here, there is one bacteria, that is coccus, that is cocci, and if they are living together, so we can say that is diplococci. Okay. So and if they are live in the long form, that this is the long form, right? They are the long forms, that one cocci is embedded with another cocci, and they are more than two, or if they are in the form of chain, so we can say that is the streptococci. And if they live in clusters, like these are the clusters, they are living in clusters, so we can say that is a staphylococcus. They are living in a bunches, and a streptococci is living in the chains form, and the spherical one is called coccus. Then we have the bacillus, that is rod shaped. Then we have spirula, that is twisted. So we can see that these are the twisted in the form, they are just twisted. You can see these are in the form of twisted. So these are the spirula. Then we have vibrio. Vibrio looks like comma shaped. This is how they used to look like. So these are the comma shape. So these are the general shape of the bacteria. Then we have structures. We have different structures. Each individual bacteria is either a simple cell. They are just we can say they are the unicellular organisms, like multicellular, unicellular, the organisms which are capable of doing a lot of things, and they are just single. So we can say that is unicellular cellular organisms, and the multicellular organisms, that is the composition of many cells and which perform organisms, that is called multicellular organisms. Like we are the multicellular organisms, plants are multicellular organisms, but if you talk about amoeba, that are the unicellular organisms. So it contains the living substance protoplasm. It contains the living substance that is protoplasm. Protoplast lying within the cell membrane, that is cytoplasm plus bacterial chromosome. So we can say that is the protoplasm surrounded by non-living stiff cell walls. So the cell wall is made of peptidoglycan and not of cellulose. As the plant cell wall, like we have cell. So if this cell wall in the plant cell, it is made up of by it is made up of cellulose. But the cell wall of bacteria, it is made up of by peptidoglycan. So whenever we produce any medicine which is antibiotic, so what they generally used to do, so whatever the antibiotic we used to take, so how they kill the bacteria, so they generally degrade the peptidoglycan, like they degrade the peptidoglycan of that bacterial cell wall, and this is how they used to kill the bacteria. So whenever we have like any bacterial infections, so we used to take the tablet. So that tablet, what that tablet used to do, they go to inside our body, they go through the our bloodstream, and they attack on the bacterial cell peptidoglycan, and once the bacterial cell wall is ruptured, that bacteria is ultimately die, and which leads to the death of the bacteria. After then, we have a thin cell membrane lies immediately beneath the cell wall and surrounds the cytoplasm. So, this one is the diagram you can see. Okay. So, this is the typical example of a bacterial cell wall. You can see these are the cell wall. These are the cell wall. Then inside that, beneath the cell wall, we have cell membrane. Okay, we have cell membrane. Then we have plasmid. These are the plasmids. Then we have bacterial chromosome. So these are the dispersed. These are the dispersed genetic materials. So these are the bacterial chromosome. Okay. Then we have glycogen granules. So these are the glycogen granules which used to give the ATP. Like when you used to broke it down, so they used to get the energy from the glycogen. So these are the glycogen granules, and the protoplasm, the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, and the bacterial chromosome. These all three consist and form a protoplasm, and they have capsule. They have also the layer of the capsule on the cell wall. So first, how we, if we go from the exterior to the interior, so what we found first? So first we found capsule. First we are going to found capsule. Then in the second we are going to found cell wall. After then we are going to found cell membrane. After then we are going to found cytoplasm. In that cytoplasm, we are going to see the dispersed bacterial chromosome, then glycogen granules, and the plasmids. So plasmid sometimes used as a nucleus in the as we know that in prokaryotic there is no presence of any nucleus, but in the bacteria, if the whatever the works is nucleus, uh, that is come by plasmids. So during like in biotechnologies, in the biotechnologies of agriculture field, like we used to transfer one gene to another plant. So if you want to transfer gene, like if you want some desirable characters in the someone plants, like if there is one plant, okay, if there is one plant, if this is one plant, and I want that like if there is mango plant, okay, imagine this is a mango plant. I want that the characters of this mango plant is like they are big, okay, they are big, but they don't have that sweetiness, but they are not sweet. So what should I do? So I will take another plants of mango, and I saw that in this plant the this plant has big fruits, but they have too much sugar present in there. So what can I do? Whatever the traits that is responsible for the sweetening of that mango, I will take the gene and I will transfer that gene to the other plant. So in other plant, once I will transfer that desirable characters, that desirable traits. So after then that after this breeding, after that uh, manipulation of this plants, so these plants is able to generate the big big fruit, and they also able to produce more sugars, so they can be more sweets. So we can say these are the so in this transfer of technology, generally researchers or biotechnologists used to do the plasmid. So ti plasmid is there, that is gene responsible, that we the scientists or researchers, like I also used to transfer the genes in from one organism to another organism. So we used to do the ti plasmid, and we transfer the desirable genes from one organisms to the organisms, like by the use of plasmids. Okay. Then okay. So a thin cell membrane lies immediately beneath the cell wall and surrounds the cytoplasm. So there is no well-defined nucleus present, but chromatin DNA matrix is present in the central region. So there is no well-defined nucleus present, but chromatin material is present in the central region. That is the dispersed chromosome material present in the cytoplasm. So this chromatin material is in the form of single circle and is not enclosed in a nuclear membrane, but is attached to the cell membrane at some point. So the cytoplasm contains vacuoles, granules, and in some cases chlorophyll as well as. Okay. So there are some examples of like bacteria. So they also like autotrophic bacteria. So autotrophic bacteria, they used to synthesize their food on self itself. So they have chlorophyll present in that cell. So we can say that is autotrophic bacteria. Then sometimes a slightly protective layer called capsule presents outside the cell wall. So that is not we can't say that in every bacteria that capsule is present on the cell wall, but in some bacteria we found capsules present outside the cell wall. Then we have movement. Okay, so we are the animals. How animals move? Animals move because they have legs. How starfish moves? Because they have their podas. How insects move? Because they also have legs. But what about bacteria? How they will move? So the bacteria will move through the flagella. Okay. So pictures, in these pictures, we see there is flagella present in there. Okay. We see there is flagella present in there. Okay. So how snake moves? Snakes moves because they have tail. So when the snake moves, see, if the snake moves, so they have tail. So because of that tail, they can move their tail and they can fix the direction and they can move. We are the animals and we have legs. So by the legs we can move. But what about bacteria? How bacteria will move? So for the better movement of the bacteria, they have flagella present inside their cell. So so most bacteria cannot move about on their own, and they are only passively transported by wind, water or contact. So most of the bacteria which is present, that they don't have flagella. I can't say that every bacteria has flagella. Some of they have bacteria and they move through the wind water. They used to wind water or any contact method. After that they will transfer from one location to other transport. So we have active active transport and the passive transport. So what is active transport and what is passive transport? So the active transport, like if I want to in active transport there is a use of energy, like the organs have to use their own energy from transportation from one location to other location, that is actively transport. And in passively transport what will happen, there is no need of the organs to expend their energy. Okay, so they will transported from one location to other location by means of some other agents like wind water on contact. So in active transport we can say there's no any there's no in active transport we can say there is a expend we need the expenditure of energy, so that we can say that is active transport organisms. And if there is, if the organism not using any energy, so we can say that is the passive mode of transportation. And some of the bacteria they have whip-like flagella which pierce through the cell wall and capsules. The lacing movements of the flagella provide active locomotion in the liquid environment. Okay, so because the help of flagella, some of the bacteria move from one location to other location in the liquid media. Then nutrition. So like how every organisms need food. Why they need food? Because they have to survive. Okay, so if they need food, they food so every organisms need food. Okay, so why they need food? Because they have to survive. And how they will survive? They need energy. And from where they will get the energy? From the food. So whenever we used to get the food, so during respiration there will be some breakdown of energy like adenosine triphosphate, ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So we need energy. And bacteria are the also organisms, they also need food. So from how they will use to get the nutritions, like we used to prepare the food, our mom used to prepare the food and they serve us and we used to get. And this is how we used to we eat. After then digestion will be happen, after then glucose will form, after the glucose glycolysis happen, and the generation of ATP. And we can say that this we can we have that mode of nutrition. But how bacteria will consume food, how they derive nutritions? So most of the bacteria have no chlorophyll. So as I told you, some of the bacteria are heterotrophic, some of the bacteria are autotrophic. Okay, so most of the bacteria they don't have chlorophyll, like they do not prepare their food on, but they depend on ready-made food from different sources like heterotrophic. So we can say the organisms which depend on other organisms for their food, so we can say that is heterotrophic. That is heterotrophic. And the organisms which is not depend on other organisms and they used to prepare their own food, that is autotrophic. So in this bacteria, in the heterotrophic bacteria, we found two types of organisms, that is saprophytic and the parasitic. According to the mode of according to the mode of derivatives of the nutritions in heterotrophic bacteria, there is two type of bacteria, that is saprophytic and the parasitic. Like saprophyte ka what is saprophytes? So saprophytes are the animals which generally used to derive the nutrients from the dead and decaying materials. So we can say that is saprotrophic. And what are the parasitic? So the organisms which are drawing nutrients from the living host of our body. For example, if I will tell, like we have like what is parasitic? What is parasitic? So for a common example, if I will tell you that in our stomach, in our intestine, there is one list present, that is roundworm used to present, that is Ascaris lumbricoides. So what will happen, that Ascaris lumbricoides present in our stomach, and they whenever we eat food, whenever we eat food, that food will digest, and from that food that organisms used to derive nutrition. So we can say they are parasitic. They are living in our body and they are derive nutrients from our body. Okay, so they are called parasitic organisms. So like that, in bacteria also we have heterotrophic groups. So in bacteria we have autotrophic and the heterotrophic. In autotrophic they produce their food on, and in heterotrophic they depend on other organisms. In heterotrophic we have saprophyte and we have parasitic. Saprophyte that derive nutrients from the dead and decaying materials, and the parasitic which derive nutrients from the other living host. So that is called parasitic. The bacteria secrete powerful enzymes from their cells into the surrounding food containing material. The enzymes make the food material soluble, which is then absorbed as a solution into the bacterial cells. So that bacteria secretes some powerful enzymes. Like if they want to get the foods from the heterotrophs, so what they will used to do? So they secrete some material, and they are the enzymes. What are the enzymes? So these are the chemicals we use to degrade the other materials, and from that they used to get the food. So the enzymes make the food material soluble, which is then absorbed as a solution into the bacterial cell. So bacteria generally secrete some enzymes, and that enzymes act at the food, and after that that food converted in the liquid material and in soluble form, and after that that bacteria absorb that food into the bacterial cells. So this is how bacteria used to derive their nutrition. After then we have respirations. So respirations. So what is respiration generally used to use? So some of the bacteria respire by absorbing atmospheric oxygen, that is aerobic. Others need no free oxygen, that is anaerobic. So the anaerobic bacteria are killed if exposed to air. So respiration is generally breaking down of glucose. We used to say in general form that breaking down of glucose, that is called respirations. Okay, so every organisms they need food, then they need energy, and from the from how they will get the energy? They will get energy from the food, and whenever the used to digest the food, after then glucose will store, and after when the glucose will store, the glucose should have to be break down. If they won't be break down, then how the ATP will be generated? And if we the ATP won't generate, then we can't like we used to say that the energy, the unit of energy is that is ATP. So when the when the organisms respire, when the organisms respires, so generally during the respiration they used to use like oxygen. So when they use oxygen, there will be some breaking down of glucose will happen, and from that the ATP will be released. So bacteria has absorbed oxygen from the atmospheric oxygen. So the bacteria respire through atmospheric oxygens. Okay, so they take oxygen from the atmosphere. So there are the some bacteria like anaerobic is there and then aerobic is there. So the bacteria which respire by using the atmospheric oxygen, so we can say that that is aerobic. And the bacteria which doesn't need oxygen for their respiration, we can say anaerobics. So the anaerobic bacteria are killed if exposed to air. So if they do not oxygens, like they are anaerobics. So if we take out that anaerobic bacteria into the oxygen, so do you think that they will survive? No, they won't survive. Why they won't survive? Because their mechanism is not with the respiration with the oxygens, and if we give oxygens, they will harm that organisms. So if we take any anaerobic bacteria and if we expose into the air, they will kill. Okay, then we have reproduction processes. In reproduction, reproduction in bacteria is only asexual by means of fission or cell division. So as we know, in the whole world, there is two types of reproduction, that is asexual reproduction and that is sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, there is a lot of transport like degeneration is there, fragmentation is there, binary fission is there, multiple fission is there, and in We are discussing about the reproduction in bacteria. So in sexual reproduction, they are multiplied through the means of fission, like in cell division, like binary fission is there, multiple fission is there. If you go to the higher classes, we'll learn about the binary fission, multiple fission, regeneration, fragmentations, like that. So bacteria generally reproduce through the fission or cell division. The circular DNA duplicates, the cell expands, and the two DNA are pulled apart. Okay, like see, these are the typical example of bacteria, how they reproduce. So these are the bacterial cell present is there. After then, inside we have that nuclear chromosome present is there. And after then, what will happen? That DNA duplicates. After that, cell division mechanism will happen. Then DNA duplication is happen. After that, the same copy of DNA will be like uh, they divide. Then there's been first there is karyokinesis, that is the division of nucleus. After then cytokinesis, like division of cell. So that is copy of DNA. After then original DNA will be transformed. So like that we have this is how the binary fission will be happen. So this is for the today class. In the next class we are going to discuss about the uh, sexual reproduction, what are the highly primitive type of sexual reproductions, and others portions. So do you guys have any questions? Is everything understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you guys have any questions, we will discuss in the last class. Once you read this, your book, once you read this book, after then, if you found any difficulty, then in the next class, we take it right down. After then, you will ask these questions. I think there will be some, there is communication gap is happening, like network connection error is going on, right? Like in the whole class, I was audible or my screen was visible. Okay, so we'll discuss in the next class other persons, right? So thank you very much and have a good day ahead.